wasn't the best witness, but he really wasn't bad, and things were going okay. And after that, it has been a catastrophe, just an avalanche of bad answers, bad witnesses, failed prep, and as several
so
of
much
the
time to prep this.
yeah, and several panel members have mentioned, it's not just that it's bad prep and bad lawyer work. They're doing the best they can. This case should not have ever seen a trial. It should not have seen a courtroom.
No.
Agreed.
Without. Oh, go ahead, Nate.
No, I was going to ask. This is the first time I've ever seen a case where the defense could not have put on a better case for itself than the prosecution did. Literally.
Yeah.
I mean, does the defense need to call any witnesses? I mean,
I don't
will
think
call
so.
one or
Who
two.
could you call?
The only
called one.
they're going to
Let's
call.
Kyle to help
the
the
roommate,
prosecution.
right?
They've got
the roommate.
two. They're going to call Dr. John Black to testify, and I don't know if they need to at this point because he's probably going to really bore the jury. So that's maybe a judgment call at this point. He's the expert who would testify on the timings of everything and how fast the shots occur. They're probably going to call him because they've employed him. They've built it up. They argued over it. But whether they reevaluate, we'll see. Number two, they're going to call the roommate and just again have him say, yeah, I posted that on Facebook. Yeah, that's what Gage said to me, or that's the best. That's the thing I remember Gage saying to me.
See, I was thinking that maybe they would want to call Zeminski. I don't know why they haven't called Zeminski, but the only thing is maybe it's even better not to have an answer as to why he fired his gun in the air. Maybe his prepped answer would be, I was trying to break up the fight and scare the children so that, fire the gun and things would, people would disperse. So maybe he'd have a good prepped answer for that. He probably would not admit that he wanted to trigger the sequence of events that he knew it would trigger by doing that. But yeah, the dude who heard...
Hold on. Zeminski may not come because he has a Fifth Amendment claim, right? Self-incrimination. So I would, if I'm him, I'm not saying I had a gun and shot it because now I'm committing a crime. So yeah,
call him and make him do it in front of the jury, though.
But
push it if you're the defense.
Well, if you're the defense, the state has every reason not to call Zeminski. He's one of the most inconvenient, even based on what we've seen so far, he's one of the most inconvenient witnesses for the state, because if they bring this guy up there, it's like they're going to have to address the fact that he pulled a gun and shot it into the air for literally no reason, possibly committing a felony murder by firing a shot, and that provokes the death of at least one person.
That's why he's not going to testify. Just like case. He's got a Fifth Amendment. He's got the right to not self-incriminate himself, and he's only going to do that. So yeah, I don't think.
I agree. The defense has to call at least. I don't think they need to legally, but I think for jury perception, it's hard to find an affirmative defense if you don't see the defense put on a case. That's all.
Someone says Zeminski is on the defense list. But the let him plead the fifth. You have on video that he did what he did. So pleading the fifth is not going to prevent self-incrimination. But I would argue to derive negative suppositions or negative conclusions from the fact that the prosecution did not call him, and in their opening statement say, if for reasons only Zeminski knows, he fired one round into the air, and we've chosen not to call him in order to find out what that reason was. Like, maybe you don't call him and you just draw negative inferences from the prosecution's unwillingness to do so themselves.
See, everything you're all saying here all justifies why this is the rare case, excuse me, where directed verdict is genuinely appropriate. So tell me why Schroeder wouldn't do this. And normally, when the defense stands up and moves for a directed verdict, the judge says denied and then just moves along. Why wouldn't he turn to Schroeder and say, present your case why it is that I should not issue a directed verdict here? How did you establish, what did you do to overcome his claim of self-defense? What do we see here at all? Sell me on your case what a reasonable jury may possibly take from your case in chief to say that Kyle was not acting in self-defense, and put the onus on the prosecution. And if they can't, that gives him a leg to actually say, yeah, directed verdict.
Guys, this I don't care about like the notches in your belt for getting retweeted, but Megyn Kelly just retweeted my tweet of your clip from you guys freaking out at the bombshell admission. So
that's gonna go well.
This has been a massive organic coming together of 10 lawyers to bring attention to this for the international community. It's been a glorious thing to watch the momentum grow on this.
I think
unfortunately,
for the
half
stream,
wits
though,
multiply.
This was
since we
retweeted
have
by
a
Tim
minute.
Pool, Cernovich.
Okay.
This was retweeted everywhere.
I have to ask the panel. Can the defense bone this entirely by calling Kyle Rittenhouse to the standstill?
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes, that would bone it. Yes.
It may be good, but it is a risk that
No,
need
don't
not
put
be
him at
taken.
risk.
There is no
absolutely
good
at
in that.
Yeah.
There's no good.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no good.
It's literally like you're winning by 6 points, and you have the ball, and there's 3 seconds left, and you decide, hey, let's Hail Mary. Let's just throw a Hail Mary right now.
Don't put him at risk. They don't need to. There's no upside for them, which is what I've been saying with half these prosecution witnesses. What was the upside for the prosecution? Because I only saw the upside for the defense. But Nick, since the stream is so big, do you want to have everybody share their specialties and where they practice? Because I don't know if all the audience knows how diverse this panel is in their experience.
Yeah, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and then run to the bathroom because I have the bladder of a 4-year-old apparently.
I've been drinking whiskey. Let's do it.
And this is the plug for Nick's prostate control.
Yes, I'm a
We've been streaming for
Minnesota.
6 hours.
I'm a Minnesota small town attorney. I practice across diverse fields. I try not to do family law, but I have experience in family law. I have experience in contract law, probate. Let's see. Criminal law specifically is the probably the biggest aspect of my practice is criminal law, and so that's why I comment. And you guys, please share yours. I'll be right back. Go with legal bites first.
All right, cool. I'm Alita. I'm a licensed attorney in California and DC. I have experience mostly in litigation, a little bit of transactional and estate planning area, but mostly litigation in employment law and wills and trusts and conservatorships and that kind of stuff. Elder law, I would say, is generally speaking, but a little bit of business law, contract law, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Cool. I'm Andrew. I'm Andrew. I'm a Florida attorney who has spent a lot of years inside of government and corporate. And after I got sick of that and went out on my own, find myself here in South Korea doing some consulting and bringing some base facts to you guys on the internet. My locals, legalmindset.locals.com is the best place to find me.
Emily, you want to go? We'll go
Oh,
down.
go Viva.
Okay.
You're next.
Sneak it around.
That way I'm last.
Okay, so
Good.
Viva Fry. My real name is David Freiheit. For those of you who feel cheated that you thought my name was Viva, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber. I have practiced for over 13 years commercial litigation. I never liked one day more than the day before, and so a few years ago I wound it up to do YouTube, and then grew the Viva Fry channel. And we do the weekly streams with Robert Barnes. You can catch us at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And I'm exploring U.S. law and making myself understand it, and hopefully making other people understand it in the process.
Go Ty.
I'm Ty Beard, senior partner at Beard and Harris. We're a fairly diverse law firm. We handle almost anything. My specialty is business law, both transactional and litigation. I don't have a YouTube channel. I just go on Nick's show.
I'm Emily D. Baker. I am licensed in California. I have 15 years as a practicing attorney. God, that makes me old because I'm old. I am a former deputy district attorney in the county of LA. I was also a judicial research attorney before I went to the DA's office. So some experience in civil, and then I worked in business litigation, not much with litigation, more with consulting online business owners. And I am a YouTuber. So I do YouTube over on the Emily D. Baker, and I host the top 3 entertainment news podcast, The Emily Show. I talk pop culture. This is the most serious I am when I'm over on Nick's channel. We talk housewives and Britney and things.
The most serious. That's convenient because the most serious I am is when you're over here too.
Perfect. It's fucking amazing. Nate
the Great.
I thought Joe was next. I'm Nate the lawyer, former prosecutor in New York. I was a law school professor for a couple of years, and this guy above me, Viva Farai, he helped me become a YouTuber. So that's what I do now. Most of my cases deal with criminal defense and my last in employment law. So that's what I've been taking care of for the past couple of years. And to be honest with you, I just like Viva, I didn't expect to enjoy YouTube so much, but this has become, this has actually become almost like a family because, like everybody here who I know, like amazing people. So it's, it's been a great journey to be on YouTube. So.
Yep.
Joe Neerman, people call me Good Logic, New York litigator. I was inspired actually by Viva to become a content creator because I felt he wasn't based enough. He was too vanilla. He was too middle of the road. And I'm very hardcore in my MAGA values, less about Donald Trump, more about basic American conservative values and trying to reinfuse that type of perspective in our understanding of how the political landscape should shape up. So check me out on Good Logic. My channel on YouTube is Good Logic, and I'm also on Locals at goodlogic.locals.com. You really did inspire me, Viva, by the way.
What's amazing is we
my
talk about
God.
the family, and I've met all of you through the YouTubes. And when Nate and I first met, Nate made a video calling me out on Nicholas Sandman, and then I made a response responding to his. When Nate first made his video, he was at under 1,000 subs. I couldn't even tag him on YouTube to let him know that I put out a video. And now I met Nick. I did a stream with Nick back a year ago, one of those midnight streams. It's amazing. And then who else is not here now? We've got
This is everyone.
Uncivil Laws
Uncivil
not
Law.
here.
Yeah,
He is been invited. He is unable to join us today.
Does
Unfortunately,
he have a job too?
he's traveling. He's traveling like a sovereign citizen. So hopefully I can get him on later this week. But yes, I want to offer.
And also Attorney Tom. Somebody mentioned in the
And
chat.
Attorney Tom.
Look,
Attorney
stop
Tom's
it.
busy suing Travis Scott.
Stop.
Yes.
Attorney Tom, this guy's short. He's not funny. Don't even pay
Is he short? I think he's over 6 feet.
You know what?
He's taller than Legal Eagle.
Over 6 feet.
I've met Attorney Tom in person and Legal Eagle. He's taller than Legal Eagle.
Look,
Okay,
my
I don't
feet
know- I
are
don't know if
taller than Legal Eagle.
I'm not taller than. I guarantee you, I'm not taller than Legal Eagle. We haven't gotten Steve Lito in here, but I was in touch with Steve, and we were going to do a live stream. We will do it one of these days, but I don't know if Steve is covering.
I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to talk to Louis Rossman also. Yes, Robert Barnes is great as well. I want to offer one quick disclaimer though, and this is my own thing. Because I've never like overrepresented what I do on YouTube as far as the legal work of this. I'm a small town attorney. I do not have a huge practice. I do not have years and years of vast high profile experience or anything like that. I serve my clients the best way. We are here offering Monday Morning Quarterback. It is not our names and careers on the line. We are not representing Kyle or the state in this case. We do not have a vested interest. We're trying to offer some commentary and education based around what's going on. We're not suggesting that our strategies are the best. We're simply saying these are what we would do in this situation and try to provide education around it. So
It's what we would do from the comfort of our own homes, watching it unfold in real time.
Yes,
Exactly.
just shouting at the screen
From the
by
comfort of our
ourselves.
basements.
Object!
Exactly. And we're in the same boat as many of
I got
you.
$20 on the directed verdict, guys. I got $20 on the directed. Anybody
What kind of odds are you giving?
I wonder if the
Direct
people are going to
$20.
rest. I think the prosecution
No.
might rest. I think we might be there.
I hope they do. I want to see
hope
the
they do.
defense start their
I think
case
we're
in
there.
chief today.
Directed verdict
Yeah.
right now. Directed verdict right now. Here it comes.
Why is the prosecutor
I think
talking
directed
to people?
verdict on the major charges, though. I don't think you get to
I want to see it.
I'm not there yet, Nate. I want to be there. I'm just so I'm so disillusioned on the
$20
general odds.
Let's white pill you here.
Here, I'll take your bet. No directed verdict.
Hypothetically, setting aside the homicide charges, the gun charges themselves.
The odds are on my side. I'm taking your bet,
be getting
but I
3 to
don't
1.
want 20 bucks. Look,
Nate should be getting 3 to 1 on this. Or you know what? You could just.
Nate, I want
the gun charges
Nate,
is misdemeanor, right?
Nate, I don't want 20 bucks. If I win on this, I want you to link my Kyle Rittenhouse playlist at the end of your U.S. soccer video with 10 billion views.
I love that the judge is on his phone. He's like, all right, are we back? My alarm's going off. I feel
And
like
I
we're
want
back.
you to.
He
so,
hasn't
all right,
called.
So in response, no, we're good.
They haven't called court to order yet, which is
If
why
it's a
everyone is
directed
standing. The
verdict,
judge is sitting on the bench.
You
The
link
jury's
my
probably
name
not
in
in
the
the courtroom
description
yet.
in the next 3 videos.
Next 3 videos, he won.
Done. Got it.
Okay, but
I'm
hold
putting
on,
you in this one right now.
Quick question: the gun charge, is it a misdemeanor charge, or does it carry potential jail time?
Misdemeanor. Up to 9 months. I think.
Okay.
Oh, he's gonna call someone?
The judge is
so.
watching.
Okay.
Okay, now.
He's got a notepad.
The
He's
state calls
definitely not
Detective
resting.
Antaramian.
Oh,
God,
good.
Another one?
Here we
The
go.
1-year
detective.
detective.
This is-
Call him
this
to
is-
the
Somebody else?
stand.
This is going to turn the tide, this guy.
Kyle's case sinks now.
I wonder if they're trying to ride it out to the end of the day to regroup overnight and see what else they're going to do to fix
And
it.
see-
I'm
see
gonna
if they
get another
can-
drink. I'll be right back.
If they stay open for tonight, they can call somebody back tomorrow if they need to.
Detective Ben Antaramian, Antaramian. Who are you currently employed? I'm a detective with the City of Kenosha Police Department.
Are you the
have you been
nephew
with
of the
Kenosha
mayor
Police
of
Department?
Kenosha?
10 years and some change now.
And how long have you
Or
been a detective?
son, I believe.
About 3.5 years.
And do you recall what your assignment was on the evening of August 25th, 2020?
We were in a modified role, whereas traditionally we're investigators. We were initially assigned at the beginning of the shift to go to local gas stations and ensure that their pumps were turned off to prevent further fires that night.
When you say we, who is the we?
Detective Howard and I believe Detective Valeri was also with us.
Is that Detective Brandy Valeri?
Yes, sir.
And so, other than going to the gas stations, did you have any other assignments that evening?
We were just assisting in general patrol. Any areas that needed help, we'd respond over and just see what they needed. People who were being taken into custody, we'd assist with that as well.
Now, I think we're all aware that beginning on Sunday night, August 23rd, after the shooting of Jacob Blake, there was a lot of unrest in Kenosha that continued on Monday night. What was the law enforcement response and planning and whatnot for Tuesday night, if you know?
By Tuesday night, and this comes from, I wasn't directly involved in the planning, obviously, that's way above my position, but generically speaking, by Tuesday night, we had multiple agencies that responded. The National Guard had arrived. So we had multiple, we call them pieces of armor, but Bearcats and MRAPs that were available to us. So by then, there was a more organized response. We had active patrol assignments. And we had dedicated areas of responsibility. We were able to respond more effectively to the bigger calls that Monday and Sunday we were able to respond to, but not as appropriately as we normally would.
And if you would please slow down a little bit for Madam Court Reporter.
Apologies.
The most important person.
Don't try to be funny. You're in the middle of a murder trial.
And you're losing.
He's
So,
Steve
Detective,
Carell, and I can't stop hearing Steve Carell.
If there
Are you
were
a virgin, Steve Carell?
situations that Tuesday night
Stephen
where
Colbert, sorry, Stephen
there
Colbert.
was some sort of report or 911 call in some
That's
other
what she
part
said.
of Kenosha other than this downtown area, was the Kenosha Police Department equipped to handle those types of calls?
Absolutely.
I want to focus in on the downtown area, and there's that map that we've all been referring to.
I want to focus in on something we haven't heard already 4 times.
What was the
Can we get there?
logistical, the strategic plan, I guess, the tactical plan for
This man is a
handling
masochist.
any issues that arose in that area, the downtown area, on that particular night, if you know?
The thing is, he's torturing the
Again,
jury.
speaking more
Right.
generically, as it's not my pay grade, but
If my back hurts at this point, the jury's back hurts.
SWAT teams, along with, we call them CEDAR, but
Their
Purple
seats are way
pocket
less
square.
comfortable than yours.
a dedicated
Purple pocket square says
respond-
masochist. Nothing says
respond to
masochist.
specific
Purple
calls.
pocket
So
square.
if there was a
I'm
fire,
offended that
we
he's
have dedicated SWAT
obliterating my favorite
teams
color.
Hey,
respond.
Kurt.
There he
Kurt.
is.
A riot
Kurt.
to ensure that whatever
Hello.
call we had,
Now on the bottom
I'm
of
on the
totem pole
road
anymore.
and
Is it fair to say that
I've been watching this whole thing. It's
during a
been
part of
great.
that evening, there was also a large number of police officers that were here outside the courthouse?
correct.
The other units that you've just described, were they separate from the people that were out in front of the courthouse?
Yes, those were auxiliary
I
personnel.
think his role is to say that
And
Kyle's help.
you
was
mentioned if there was
unnecessary.
a fire. So, for example, if the 59th Street car source or the 63rd Street car source had a structure fire or a house fire along in one of those areas or something like that.
Is
the
point?
Resources, law
I think
enforcement
it's to prove that
to
Kyle was
respond to something like
unnecessary.
that?
To the best of my knowledge,
It's the
there
only
were,
thing I could
yes.
see him doing here.
What about if there were
Not that I mean
smashed
They were
out
told
car
not
lines?
to.
Was that something that the law enforcement was going to come in and respond to?
No, unless it was a threat to life, we weren't going to be going at that point.
Is it fair to say that the response depended on the type of crime, the type of report that
Yeah, I just
that
said
needed
threat to
be
life.
handled?
Correct.
So if it was just property damage, like broken windows or something like that, was that something that police were going to respond to?
Not at that time, no, not emergent.
What if it were a threat to life, such as a house fire or a shooting or a serious violence incident, something like that? Were there enough resources that night for the police to come in and respond as quickly as possible?
Correct.
Just a baby fire.
We've heard a lot of testimony
that the police
case
could have gone in for a threat to life,
people
that they were nowhere near.
I want to put that aside.
It doesn't matter. They didn't.
Other than that,
Could have as a
was anyone else killed here in Kenosha as part of all these protests, riots, civil unrest, whatever you want to call it, on the night of August 25th?
No one else was killed that night.
Was anyone else seriously injured?
Actually,
to the best of my knowledge, no.
I heard there were some bodies from an arson. That'd be interesting.
You've described a little bit of your personal assignments that evening. Did there come a time in which your responsibility changed?
Yes, there was a time when that changed.
Tell us about that.
So around 11:49 p.m., there were multiple calls for shots fired in the area of 63rd Street and Sheridan Road. Initially, officers were, they believed to be chasing the involved parties who were involved in the shooting, west and south. So there's the off screen, but there's a minimum security prison closer to 65th and 14th. The foot pursuits had generally gone that way. So we were tasked with.
They were running towards the prison. Great.
I was on mute, but Bain
Stop
is
you
not
for a
making
second,
the
because I
point.
believe you mentioned there was a report of a shooting at 63rd and Car Source. Is that right?
Correct.
63rd and Sheridan, which is the Car Source, right? And we now know that's the killing of Joseph Rosenbaum. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Other than that,
The rape and murder
did
of
Kenosha
Joseph
police
Rosenbaum.
respond to other unrelated shootings in that area at that same time?
Yes, so as that unfolded, we received more reports for shots fired, and as you've seen in the videos,
Thanks, Viva.
Continued. But essentially, there was what was believed to be an exchange of gunfire. I believe it's Main Park, which is just west of the Car Source location at 6226 Sheridan Road.
Can you use that laser pointer and point out that park that you just described? Okay. And what is the name of that park?
I believe it's Main Park.
And that's basically located between 10th and 11th Avenues and 62nd and 63rd Street. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. And do you know whether or not there actually was any sort of shooting over there?
There were shots fired. In terms of someone hurt, we never received reports of anyone injured by gunfire in that area.
Do you know whether or not that had anything to do with the events in this case?
Objection
I
calls
do
for
not believe it had
speculation.
anything to do with this case.
Is it fair to say, though, that while there was a need for a response to the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, other law enforcement resources were also trying to deal with that other incident simultaneously?
Correct. There were multiple squads. I believe there was actually a piece of armor that was utilized. There's like a daycare just behind the Car Source, and there were reports that a shooter had gone into there. So I mean, there was a large amount of police personnel in that area.
Now, you mentioned that at some point in the evening, your responsibilities changed. And I know you were talking about the 63rd and Sheridan shooting. Did there come a time in which you, as a detective, were assigned to handle that investigation?
Shortly after midnight, I was given the news that I'd be the lead investigator assigned to this, along with Detective Howard.
And is it fair to say
Notice
that
they didn't
since
ask
then
how
you
long
two have
he's been a
the primary
detective.
investigators in this case?
1 year.
Correct.
They are just trying to use witnesses.
Do you
dilute the
recall
damage
when it
they did
was that you learned that the person
We could
who
call
had
this
Can't
running the
unring that
clock.
bell.
those shootings was
I
the
think
Lieutenant Kyle
Alito's
Rittenhouse?
right.
I think they could call
Running
this
the
running
clock.
with
At the end of the day.
scissors,
You're aware
honestly.
that it was Kyle
Get to the end of the day.
Did there come a time in which
Regroup.
you and Detective Howard went down to the Antioch Police Department to meet with him?
Yes.
Did you determine how old Mr. Rittenhouse was on that particular day?
Yes, on the night of August 25th, 2020.
Oh, he's 3.5 years
17
as a detective. I
And his
missed
date
it.
of
Sorry.
birth is January 3rd, 2003. Is that correct?
Correct.
Have they not established this through another witness? His age?
He
For the
just
gun
wants
charge?
to bring
Part
up the
of
fact that
your
nobody
They
else
already
got
did.
killed.
investigation,
Did they already?
did
This
you
witness is
take
mouthwash, so you don't end with a
possession
terrible
of the
witness.
firearm?
This
Yeah.
way we have the
Involved
last witness that we
defendant
put up
used
there didn't
to-
get blown
Mr.
up.
Rosenbaum, Mr. Huber.
This
and
is
Mr.
just a
Grosskreutz?
possession charge.
Yes, I took possession of it down in Antioch, Illinois, at their police department.
And I have, could you hold up that?
Seems that they already established it though with other witnesses, but okay. Cumulative at this point, but the defense is like, whatever. Go.
Yeah,
Go.
everybody they bring up gives me something to eat.
Yes.
So I might as well let
Yep.
them bring up a new person.
No,
Go ahead.
it's like Joe said. It's mouthwash. Get the memory of Grosskreutz out of their brains before they leave before they dismiss for the day. Because
Yeah, I think
closing is going to smash that.
Oh, yeah.
Viva,
I
when you're
wanna be
streaming
here
later,
for
quote me
closing.
on that, okay? The mouthwash. You can use it.
a quote. I'm going to steal it, Nearman.
Good logicism.
I'm having Detective
Yeah.
Howard
Show him
hold
the
up
gun
a
again.
weapon that has been marked as exhibit number 28. You don't need to bring it to him, just if you could show it to him. Do you recognize
you
that?
show it to
Detective
the
Anthony?
jury twice.
Yeah, that's
That'd
the
be good.
firearm in question.
Just
Is
don't
that the
point it at
weapon that
anybody, people.
Mr.
Big scary
Rittenhouse
gun. Big
used
scary
to
gun. Be
shoot
afraid.
Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, and Gage Grosskreutz on the night of August 25th, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And is it in substantially the same condition as it was when you took possession of it?
Yeah, that I'm calling it an optic, but the sight that was separated from it, when I took possession of it, that was still attached. I had to remove it so we could fit it into one of those gun boxes.
Detective Howard, could you hold that up one
So
more
you
time, please? I'm
disassembled the
sorry.
evidence?
Just hold it up one more
We
time
can
and
pull out
scare the
gloves.
jury members with it.
Can you point it at the jury members, please?
It looks like this.
There's jokes in there that I won't make, but people in the chat are definitely going to make. It involves Alec Baldwin, people. Okay, that's where I was going.
Oh,
with it.
somebody else already did. I
right.
saw it.
I assume you're getting much worse than that.
No, I even in my own head, I keep him pretty clean.
Look at that friggin' camera cannon right by that guy's head. That thing's way more dangerous than the AR.
That's not a camera cannon. That's a T-shirt cannon.
If you could just hold that up so the jury can see it, please.
If you
Right
could just
there.
hold it up so the jury can see how big it is.
Detective
Look
Anthony,
big.
did the
Can you fire it in the
weapon
courtroom,
that
please?
we are looking at here, did it have that strap attached to the butt when
Yes,
you
Binger,
took
we know
possession
it
of
was
it?
strapped to his
Yeah.
Thank
person.
you.
So you
Have
removed
you
the
watched
optic, but
how
not
many
the strap.
videos of him moving
After
with it strapped
you-
to him?
Took possession of the defendant's weapon. What investigation, if any, did you do
Doorbell.
to determine whether or not that was actually the weapon used in these shootings?
So later on after that night, I believe it was the 28th, we had the weapon taken to what's called a Waraven facility down in Chicago.
They brought the weapon across state lines?
But it's they test ballistics.
Can you bring that microphone really close so we can hear
Yeah,
it?
sorry
better?
about that.
That's okay.
So we took it to a Waraven. It was a trailer that the ATF had established down in Chicago. So we took it down there. and
Chicago's
It also
so bad
does-
the ATF brought in a trailer.
It also does meth.
secured the firearm, and they were able to correlate that the casings we had recovered at that time, it was 6 casings, did in fact come from that firearm.
And I think there's been some testimony that maybe the next day on the 29th, there were 2 more casings that you found, or Detective Howard found, for a total of
Are
8.
these disputed facts?
And those 8
Objection
spent
leading.
shell casings were also given to Heather Williams, who testified earlier at the crime lab to
Objection
to
leading.
verify
I mean,
that
it
information.
doesn't
as well.
matter.
Is that right?
But object
Correct. So
anyway.
Waraven
Finger
typically
sucks
won't give
after
you
an
a final
objection.
report.
Yeah, it's
They'll
true.
give what they believe to be accurate, but then the crime lab has to actually confirm that information.
So then you had Heather Williams at the crime lab verify that the shell casings, the 8 shell casings, came from the defendant's gun. Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Again, this is all leading.
Richards believes
If
he has a
prior
limited number of
to-
objections.
Having the defendant's gun brought to
He's got like 3
Waraven
today.
or the crime lab was
Bring in
the
another lawyer, my
swabbing
man
done
Stephen
to
Birch.
see if there's DNA on the gun.
Hello.
Yes, the firearm was turned over to an evidence technician who performed the standard evidentiary DNA
How's it going?
they take from the firearm.
And that was Officer
Not
Jeff
well
Van
for the
Wee.
prosecution.
Correct.
There you go. Yep.
I have been seeing a few
possible
updates. It doesn't seem to be
for
going well at all today.
additional DNA testing to be done on an item in a case, a gun, a phone, any sort of physical item later on in the case?
Yes.
After that initial swabbing was done, did you ever receive a request from the defendant or his attorneys to have additional DNA testing done on the gun?
I didn't hear what you said. You were objecting why? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I should use my microphone. It's burden shifting.
Rephrase your question.
Was
Okay.
I'll ask it this way, Detective Antaramian. After the first swabs were done by Officer Van Wee, did you ever receive a request from anyone to have additional swabs done on any part of that gun?
No.
If you
Why
had
would the defense ask for
received
swabs
such
on
a
the gun?
request, would you have followed through with that?
Yes.
Is it not an admitted fact that the
We've
gun and the bullets came from
heard
that
some
gun?
testimony about an item that was recovered from Mr. Gross.
They want to get the DNA
Detective Howard,
swabs,
if you could
is what they're
locate
talking
that
about,
for
from
us, please.
grabbing the gun.
They're acting like this is a hotly contested issue, as if there aren't 4,000 different videos all showing him using the gun.
As if their own DNA expert
What is
didn't
the exhibit
testify
sticker on
that these guys grabbed, or that Huber grabbed the gun.
60.
Right.
This is an item which has already been introduced.
After saying her process was totally
Do
inconclusive
you
and then
recognize that
agreeing that
item?
the photo shows him grabbing the gun.
Can you tell the jury what it is?
So, and I'm not an expert on this, but those are devices used
Objection.
by our SWAT team and then our CEDAR or riot teams. They're typically referred to as like a gas bomb, if you will, in layman's terms, but it's like a nerve gas, non-lethal, that is used to disperse crowds.
Is this a device that is used by law enforcement?
Yeah, some people
On
also.
full Ricada.
Is this a device that a common layperson could create on their own at home?
I don't think he meant nerve gas, by the way. I think he
Objection
meant-
calls for
Is this
speculation.
device, when it was recovered from Mr. Grosskreutz, had it already been used? Was it no longer capable of emitting any gas?
Objection. You
Based off
can't
my
answer.
observations, it was
He's
already-
not an expert.
I'm
He
not
has
an
no
expert.
idea if it was
Keep
used when
asking me
Grosskreutz
questions.
picked it up. Ask Grosskreutz.
Could we please have exhibit number 10 pulled up?
And by the way,
He is-
in the pause, didn't Grosskreutz confirm that Huber grabbed the butt of, grabbed the pistol or the gun?
But once again, guys,
I can't remember if he confirmed, but I know someone else did.
But they're just going to destroy him on cross. I mean, this is what's been going on all day. They let
Yeah.
it happen, and they just come in and they're just going to, prosecution.
They're going to run this witness to a few minutes short of the day and hope that the defense then says we're not going to do anything, end it, and then they can leave on a not bad note.
Look, I'm Rittenhouse. This bottle is Rosenbaum, and it is now killed.
Nice.
Oh no.
Yikes.
Yes, so people in the chat, I'm certain Grosskreutz confirmed that he saw Huber grab, not just reach for, but grab the gun and try to take it
I
from
think-
Kyle.
Yeah, he even said that he was
Now,
concerned
Detective,
for
as
Kyle's
part of
safety
the
from
investigation
Huber.
in this case, did you and Detective Howard work to acquire video that was recorded by various people of the shootings?
Yes.
And do you recognize the video that's up on the screen?
It looks like one of those, yes.
Okay, and this is the recorded by someone called Ford Fisher. News to share, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Could we
The
begin
volume?
playing this video? I'm going to have it stopped here in just a second, but let's go ahead.
But how does he know? I'm reading it.
This trial has had so many people testifying to facts that they were not present for. It's baffling.
It's baffling what the defense has let in. I mean, there's been a lot of objectionable content that just comes in. It ends up playing out well for him, but
Yeah.
I think it says a lot about how strong they think their case is when they're not fighting over foundation, personal knowledge, and all that.
And they jujitsu'd everything
I don't know
back
because
on him.
Richards never objected. He didn't object day one, even when the prosecution was doing okay. I just think it's either a style thing.
Video
or
show the
Hello, Mr. Birch.
aftermath.
hey, how's it going? It's been a while.
Has, how you doing?
Doing good. I think this is the most sober I've been around you. This is.
Likewise.
I'm working to change that, but.
Likewise, I'm not, but.
I'm working my way up the totem pole. I'm like only now 5 away. I'm just knocking off one by one. Oh, look at that.
Here's Kurt.
I'm almost 7 hours in. I'm in it to win it. Good logic.
No.
You're
Okay,
definitely in it to win
I'm
it.
going to make room for everyone else. I'm going live at 7, everybody, so I can see you then. I got to exercise and do some dog business before then. Nick, I'm going to be listening while I put together a fish tank.
It's a special Canadian
Knock
thing.
him dead.
All right,
Viva.
brother.
Go do your dog business.
Bye, David.
I mean,
Dog business.
I mean
See you,
walk the
David.
dogs. Peeps,
Oh,
see you later. This has been
knock him
great.
dead.
Catch you later, Viva.
And then there were
I had to hop
four.
on a call. What's
And then
going on
there were
now?
four. I'm not
We've
resting
got
my
a bunch of fluff witnesses that have followed Grosskreutz that make honestly zero sense for the
Well,
prosecution.
Except they're trying to mask the fact that Grosskreutz was an unmitigated disaster.
Yeah,
I poured a
that's
whiskey.
best we
Yeah.
can figure. This is the last of my bottle of whiskey. It's my last bottle of whiskey. We've got a sidebar here going on. I'm not 100% sure why. I think they're about to finish their. Looks like they want to introduce something, and they wanted to verify it first.
I think they just wanted the judge to say, "Good job, your witness is answering questions like you wanted him to." Like, look, I did a good job today.
Gold
It looks
star
like he's
for the
spoken
day.
to him.
The
Or
gold
witness,
star.
witness anyway.
Finally,
They got an F in the chat for the day.
Here we go. Here we go.
Pull up. I think it's Exhibit 73. Is that the one I gave you?
What exhibit did I just hand you? And why don't I have a copy for myself? Don't give away all. Jesus.
Like copies of your exhibits, guys.
Multiple copies.
Yeah, at least 3.
At
4, actually.
Well, you need one for the defense, one for the
One for
court,
the
one for the
detective
clerk, one for
at,
you.
uh,
At least four.
Yeah.
And one for you
At
to
some point in the
lose.
investigation, did you become aware of the fact that there was drone video that someone had recorded?
They got to try and get in the FBI footage
you know.
now.
Yeah, early on, I don't know the exact date, but early on we did see on a news segment, I believe it was a Fox News segment, that there was drone footage that we hadn't found at that point in time.
Do you have any idea what the source of that drone footage was?
I believe it was accredited to Urban Aired.
I have on the screen a video which has been marked as exhibit number 73. Is this that footage that you're referring to?
It appears so.
So this
Please
isn't the
play that
FBI
footage.
footage. This is independent drone footage that they're introducing without the author of the footage.
Yeah. Who,
Yep.
Or
how
news
is this not
footage?
hearsay?
Literally, I saw this on
Objection
TV.
lacks foundation.
Yeah, I think I saw news media play this drone footage. We don't know where it came from.
And
It
they're letting
appears to be the same
And even
night.
if you don't know where it came from, I mean, he still has to be able to say this accurately represents what I saw, what happened. You know,
But
someone
he
has
might-
to lay
Otherwise,
something
it's
for
hearsay.
it.
I mean, he has no
This
basis
is-
to support it.
Of course, is it actually showing anything?
It did just actually show the shooting. It's really fast. And the crazy thing is it shows just how close Rosenbaum got to Kyle Rittenhouse before he smoked him. You can
And this
even
is why
see
the defense is
the
not objecting.
Oh, that's why they're
We
not objecting.
understand that
yeah, you
was
can see the
footage
muzzle
taken,
smoke on the gun even.
from a position south of the 63rd car source lot looking north into the lot. Would that be roughly accurate to say?
Yeah, it'd be right around that area. Northbound.
And does that show the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Okay. I would move Exhibit 73 into evidence.
I wouldn't.
I have no further questions.
That's
it?
why they brought this guy. Literally, that's the purpose of bringing this guy at the end of show the gun to the trial right in front of their face a couple times and then introduce this video footage. And again, it's another one where cop saw video footage somewhere else and brought it in.
I saw it on the news. That looks like what I saw.
This will
I
be
saw
much
it on
better.
YouTube.
But it
Did
looks
you,
like it did show the proximity.
I know that
and
you've
that's
shown
helpful.
us the gun.
a lot.
Did you ever measure the barrel on that gun?
I never personally measured it. I believe on
Good.
the E-Trace form that I think Officer Van Week
16-inch barrel.
performed on,
How
it would
big
show
is it?
that barrel length there. But I never personally did.
He's going to hit the exception.
It's not a short. You don't believe it's a short barrel rifle, do you?
No, I do
Good.
not.
Now you were asked some questions initially by Mr. Binger about if anybody else was killed that evening. During those time of those riots, there were people that had been seriously injured, correct?
Yes,
Law enforcement officers had been seriously injured, is that right?
correct.
One officer was struck in the face with a brick,
Good use of this witness.
Yep.
and then a man who came out to help
Bald
them
lawyer's the best lawyer. I may be biased, but
filled I think it was a
No,
bottle.
he's clearly winning
He's-
this trial.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the face. Is that
he's the real MVP.
I don't have
Other,
first
other than the judge.
aspect, but the
Very
previous
true.
break I know for a fact.
Yeah. The judge is the real MVP.
In terms of, I'm going to ask you this question. One of the things in your role as a detective was you had gotten information regarding a specific group called Armed Citizens to Protect Our Lives and Property. Is that right?
Correct.
And that video or that Facebook post listed specifics.
Who has a real phone?
25th, yeah, like that, right?
It was like a Facebook group meeting.
Your report indicates there are no indications in the email that Kyle
It was
Rittenhouse
Binger calling.
or
I
showed
was hoping maybe we could help him out.
Facebook post for the group itself. Correct?
Please stop
Correct.
making fun of me.
And
My parents still have a real phone. That's the answer to that question.
Oh.
and so you heard some of the questions regarding Detective Howard regarding kind of what your role as a detective is, right?
Yeah.
You don't work for Mr. Binger, do you?
No, I do not.
You, if I said that
pour
a
out for
detective
him
is
occasionally.
really kind of a truth seeker, you don't care which way the evidence goes. You just want to get it right. Would that be fair?
Yeah, throughout the investigation, we referred to ourselves as the fact finders.
So you're not supposed to, and I'm not saying you are, you're not supposed to take sides, correct? You're just supposed to, wherever the evidence leads you, you go.
Correct. We remain neutral.
So when you arrived, I know that you said you arrived at the Antioch Police Department. It was about what time, if you remember?
I honestly don't recall. It was a long night.
Early in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 3 or 4 in the morning? Sound about right?
That would sound about right, yes.
And at that point, can you tell me what, if anything, you had reviewed in the way of evidence?
We had seen at that point, I believe, 2 videos that were circulating on social media that were pretty grainy, shared secondhand. You know, we really didn't have the original source of it that showed.
Still don't for some of them.
I believe the first shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, and then I want to say the next 2 as well in separate clips.
At that point, you didn't have any, because of the time, you didn't have any, no statements had been taken yet, as far as you knew, correct?
None that were relayed to me.
And obviously at that point, none of the forensic work or anything like that certainly was maybe being collected, but it wasn't complete.
Correct.
Okay. And this was even before Gage Grosskreuz's interview with police. True?
Yeah, because first shift conducted that, and that'd be sometime after 6 or 7 a.m. The interview with Mr. Grosskreutz occurred somewhere after 6 or 7 a.m. when day shift came on. So our interactions down in Antioch were closer to 3 or 4 a.m.
And you had, if I'm right, you had placed Mr. Rittenhouse.
I like how they're using this witness.
For these offenses at about 6-ish in the morning?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And again, I'm not being critical. You had basically seen some grainy footage of the videos, and that's what you had at that point. Fair?
We had his admission that he had been involved in the shootings. And then, yeah, some video, absolutely.
And the next day, meaning the 27th, you are meeting with the DA's office to formalize charges against Mr. Rittenhouse, correct?
To draft a criminal complaint.
At that point, had you been made aware of or reviewed the statement by Richie McGinnis about what he had observed? You remember?
I don't recall if I saw that exact one yet. We really didn't sit down and read all the reports for at least 2 days, given everything and how fluid the situation was.
Okay, so
They were looking at charges, but they didn't read all the reports?
Right.
Is that what he just said?
That's exactly what he said.
Huh.
The criminal complaint was drafted prior to us concluding the investigation.
Would that be a rush to judgment? Would that be a rush to judgment? Wow.
The defense has done an amazing job of turning the prosecution's witnesses into their favor at almost every single one of them.
You asked for search warrants.
This allows them to argue rush to judgment with witness testimony.
And so how it works is you write an application for a warrant, putting forth why you believe there's probable cause that the thing that you're looking to search will contain relevant information in your investigation, right?
Correct. Commonly referred to as an affidavit.
Okay. And you swear that affidavit
Just
out,
answer
right?
the question.
Correct.
And you
Yeah,
present
that's
that
smart
to a
enough to-
judge, and the judge reviews that.
Mm-hmm.
If the judge reads it and says there's probable cause, then the judge will sign that warrant, and then you can execute it. Is that fair?
Correct.
Now, in this case, you drafted an affidavit to get the phone belonging to Gage Grosskreutz, right?
I don't know if it was me who drafted the affidavit or Detective Howard, but between the two of us, an affidavit was drafted. Correct.
And that affidavit was presented to a Kenosha County judge
Correct.
who reviewed it and signed it.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So you had a valid, in your mind, certainly a valid search warrant, correct?
Correct.
I know there's been information or conversations about Marcy's law and things like that. You've been an officer for how long? 10 years?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had a search warrant signed by a judge that you did not execute?
Yes.
Okay.
Really?
Have you ever had a search warrant that you did not execute in a homicide investigation?
I don't recall. It's possible. Sometimes
He needs to ask chose not to execute versus could not execute.
Yeah.
Those are two very different
You
things.
messed up an affidavit. There's been times I have not served an affidavit or a signed search warrant. I can't say with certainty whether or not it was on a homicide investigation, though.
If you
Because
don't
you couldn't.
execute it, is it most of the time because of what you just said, you believe there might be something faulty with the search warrant?
That's the common reason, but you can have times where new information comes forward and you determine you're not going to execute said search warrant.
Did new information come forward in this case as to why you would not execute a search warrant for Gage Grosskreitz's phone?
As was discussed previously, we were advised, given Marcy's law, it would not be
Who
ideal
advised
to
you?
execute that search warrant.
Who advised you?
I believe it was a conversation with the attorneys. I don't know who brought it up initially, though.
The prosecution.
You don't know who advised you. That's good.
The prosecution told you not to do it.
I believe so, yes.
That dude.
It was big.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Cops are always
Fucking
so
hell.
careful when executing
There you
search
go.
warrants.
You not
Fucking
to
hell.
execute the search warrant for Gage Grosskreitz's phone.
That sounds correct.
Yikes.
Yep.
Have you
Yikes.
had a
Yikes.com.
prosecutor say to you, detective, you have a valid search
Wow.
warrant. Don't execute it.
Not that I can recall, no.
There you go.
Beyond the previous one we just discussed.
Beyond the previous one.
Beyond
we
the
just
previously
discussed.
versus said that exactly that.
Since Marcy's law went
Yeah.
into effect, ever I don't want to
Binger.
say this improperly. Have you ever relied on Marcy's law not to execute a search
No,
warrant
because that's not what the
since it's
fuck
gone
it's
into effect?
for.
We've had conversations in the aftermath, but
Yes or
I
no,
don't
Yes or
please.
no? Yeah, exactly.
solely on
This
that
is killing my
basis.
soul.
So this is fair. One of it is called using Marcy's law as the basis for not doing it.
Correct.
And it's the only one that you recall ever getting a direction from a prosecutor handling the case not to do it.
Pursuant to Mercy's law, yes.
The prosecutor said, "I don't want more
Now,
evidence about this."
You,
Don't do
being the
it.
lead detective on the case, you also had an opportunity.
This is bad.
This is
to
bad.
try to interview Gage Grosskreutz about a month or so.
September 24th.
And certainly he's an important, in your
This is
mind
not
at that
a
point, he's an
mistrial on
important
its own.
piece in the case, right?
Correct.
And so you set up a time to get his statement. Fair?
I don't think I was one that set it up, but there was an agreed upon meeting time, correct?
Had you already reviewed, if you recall, his original statement to Officer Birch?
Yeah, I had.
And had you reviewed the video in the case as well, involving Mr. Grosskreutz?
Yeah.
So you knew that he had lied about dropping his gun, correct?
There was definitely a discrepancy between what the video showed us and what his original statement was.
And
It's called a lie. The discrepancy is called a lie.
Wah, 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 wah.
Once you kind of get to the meat and potatoes about what had happened with him, he refused to answer your questions. Is that right?
He consulted with his attorney, and yeah, we did not get all of our questions answered.
Did you have an opportunity to confront him with the, as you describe them, inconsistencies or discrepancies with his original statement? Did you have an opportunity to kind of talk to him about those?
I attempted to, yeah.
When the prosecution willfully doesn't go after
No, you
evidence
don't.
that could be exculpatory, isn't that a fucking Brady issue?
Yes.
Why didn't this come up pre-trial? The
So why
prosecution
is this not a
willfully
mistrial just on
didn't
its
get
own?
evidence that could be exculpatory.
He doesn't answer your questions.
Worse.
I'm assuming
Told
that at that
law
point
enforcement not to do it.
pursue it.
For the
How
most
is that
part.
not?
I don't think they
tampering with
knew.
evidence?
I don't think
know
they
if the
knew
defense
that
knew
happened.
the extent of this.
For permission or consent to look through his phone. Is that right?
Correct.
And you did that for multiple people in this case. Did you not ask for permission?
So bad.
Yes, we asked many people.
And there's actually a form that you use that they sign that grants you permission to do that, right?
Correct.
Okay. And in this particular case, did he ever give you permission to look through that phone?
No, he did not.
You think the prosecutors are going? Why did we call this guy?
Look
There
at his
was-
face. Look at the
They should be
prosecutor's
saying that
face.
for every witness.
Yeah, really. Everyone.
Okay, here we're This gonna is get a to going why away they I don't thought have it a would. skateboard in
That
court.
expression is going to be known as Binger face.
I mean, no. Are you aware of a person named Hannah Giddings?
Yes, I am.
And that is was Mr. Huber's girlfriend?
Correct.
Oh, let's bring up Hannah.
You were informed that Miss Giddings had that skateboard. Is that right?
I'm going to object.
It sounds like you're saying.
No, it's not. Doesn't have to be true.
That's where he decides to object.
Did you ever request
Not offered for the truth of the
a
matter.
search
Yeah, it's not
warrant
looking for truth. Yeah.
to get that skateboard?
I agree.
That's a good question.
No, we never had a solid idea as to where it was.
Did you ever
First, I thought he said
ask
salad.
any potential
That was
witness
confusing.
Solid
he
idea
or she might have?
from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Communication with Hannah Giddings to try and obtain that skateboard, yes.
And
Did you obtain the skateboard?
I don't want you to tell me what she said, but based
Why
on
not?
the information that you had, do you think that you had a basis to get a search warrant for it?
No, because one of the aspects of a search warrant is you have to define where you're going to search, and without a solid location that would determine that, I wouldn't have enough for a search warrant.
Did you ever ask her
Her
to
house?
just turn it over?
Yes, we did.
Do you have it?
It's not in our evidence, and I don't personally have it now.
I'm sorry, that's kind of what I meant.
Odd answer.
Does she have it?
It's not in his garage. He might have
I
it in his
didn't
garage.
take
It's
it
not.
home to play with
By
The FBI might have it and find
It's
it.
not in my
later.
pocket.
about if anybody asked you
Good
to
job.
do any other DNA testing on that gun, right?
Correct.
Now,
When the cross lasts
He can
longer
make
than the
that
direct,
request.
you know that the witness is better for the defense.
Mr. Detective,
It's a good indication.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay. Did he ever do that?
No, he did not.
You were aware that Richie McGinnis had made statements about whether or not Joseph Rosenbaum ever grabbed or touched the barrel of that gun, right?
I believe based off his statement, he described it as him juking away from him, so there was no indication that there was contact.
So based on the fact that, well, I'll ask it to you this way. You didn't tell Officer Van Wee where to swab, right?
Correct, I did not.
And would there be any harm in swabbing the barrel of that gun looking for DNA?
When you say harm, the crime lab limits us to swab submissions on the front end. So traditionally, we have a standard operating procedure for firearms. So I don't feel comfortable saying harm. We have a standard procedure. That's what we
It might be bad for the prosecution.
They get
probably
25
don't
black and
normally
white
swab
copies.
the barrel. It's an unusual thing to swab.
You wanted to
Swabbing the
look
handle,
through,
to be fair.
Mr. Rittenhouse.
Fair, good logic.
Correct?
Correct.
Ooh. Come on,
Either me or Detective Howard, yes.
All right, and I think the evidence or the testimony has been that the make or model of the phone that he had would have made that impossible at that point without him giving you the key or the code.
Yeah, the iOS, the software in the phone was beyond decryption.
And he voluntarily provided you information that unlocked a phone that you would otherwise not have had an opportunity to look at, right?
It came in through the attorneys, correct?
Okay. Now, you have described in your interviews with witnesses the night of the 24th and the night of the 25th as the most chaotic days of your professional life. Is that fair?
I'd include the 23rd, but 23rd and 24th.
So those days, 23rd, 24th, 25th, most chaotic days that you've had as a detective or a police officer even.
Correct.
Their stream is hosed, man.
So it's the most chaotic, but he didn't want to waste one of his lab uses on it. I don't know. That doesn't line up either.
By the way,
Josh,
I did resting
got the
dinger
left-hand side.
face.
Right. And
Hashtag.
That's Kelly.
Kelly Zeminski or Kelly Dunn.
Okay, fair enough. And he's, I don't know, you see that he's
He's a
holding
big jump
a
kick
pistol in
man.
his right hand?
Agreed.
Okay. Now, you see him, if you were comfortable saying this, you see him throughout the evening, throughout your investigation in various videos and things like that, correct?
Correct.
Conduct an interview with Mr. I don't want you to tell me what he said. Did you conduct an interview with Mr. Zeminski?
Yeah, Detective Howard and I interviewed him.
Did you attempt to locate that pistol?
Yes.
Were you able to locate that pistol?
No.
Did you get a search warrant for that pistol?
Yeah, you said that you were unable.
We were unable to locate that pistol, correct?
Why wasn't?
He didn't want to waste. He only has so many search warrants he can use. He doesn't want to waste some of that.
Yeah, we're limited on the front end.
He reported it stolen prior to their interview, he said.
Convenient.
You have, is it fair to say, as the lead detective or one of the lead detectives, I don't want to take anything away from Detective Howard, that you have reviewed all of the videos?
Y'all, I hate to leave, but I gotta go.
See you later,
My
Emily.
tire burst when my husband was driving my kid home from school, so I'm gonna go deal with that.
Have you,
Hi,
have
it's a
you
pleasure meeting
seen
you.
the video
Three.
with
Three.
Joseph
Open up.
You're gonna take racket
You guys
spot
are in
here.
crazy time
Next
zone.
bathroom break is yours.
I have seen that
Oh,
video,
yeah.
yes.
Have you
Steven's feeling it.
observed, in a minute, this is 7. I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 74. Take a peek at that. Does that appear to be the backside of Joseph Rosenbaum?
Yeah, it does.
Let's come in there.
Can someone make sure? Hold on.
It looks like he's moving, right? Like he's walking.
Gotta change.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in motion to say it with certainty, but
Is that a video or still? Okay. He's carrying in his, what would be there, his left hand, what looks like a chain. Is that right?
correct.
And based on the testimony that you've heard, he didn't have anything to lock up that evening, did he? As far as you know?
As far as I don't know.
Okay. I'm going to show you Exhibit 75. Judge, I would move 74. I did. No. See? 75, is that a picture of Joseph Rosenbaum there in the middle?
It looks like it, but the lighting's really bad. It almost looks like he has a red sleeve on him. So I don't want to say with certainty.
So you're not certain that that person right there with this with the mask over his face is Joseph Rosenbaum?
The mask is consistent with what I saw him wearing in the latter half of the night, but just based off the lighting there, I'm a little hesitant to say with 100% certainty.
Okay.
That's fair.
He looks like a Jawa, to be honest.
I was thinking he was channeling Deadpool.
Is anyone shutting down the local pharmacies from servicing any of the prosecuting attorneys today? Like,
that attorney's not taking it well. McDonald's is going to have a heyday after the end of this trial.
God, I wish that were me.
Seriously,
I'm so hungry.
Okay, so
Me too. I basically skipped dinner.
I'm out of energy drink, so.
Legal, why don't you take a few bites? Why don't you take a few minutes off and then come back in, like after you grab some food?
You want me to go away so you're higher up in the totem pole. Not giving up my spot.
Aware that Mr. Rosenbaum was pushing lit dumpsters into the street. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's right. Tell me if you recognize or remember seeing.
I hate these pauses. I really do.
They're too
because I like then want to talk and then it's gonna cut right back into it.
They're having some kind of a tech issue, it looks like.
I much prefer how Richards is sitting right now, by the way. His hands are on the table. He's up.
Rather
he doesn't
than
have
Mostly peaceful.
Very peaceful. Who hasn't pushed a burning dumpster into the street?
You know, I did this morning, but it was kind of early.
Joseph Rosenbaum, who was pushing the lit dumpster in the street, right? You see him right there?
Yep, he's on the right-hand side of the screen, T-shirt on.
Clearly pushing it towards the gas
him,
station, actually.
You're aware that he's screaming racial epithets. You're aware that he's got the chain. He's pushing dumpsters. You also see that he tipped over a porta potty, right?
I don't remember ever seeing that personally, but that's been relayed to me, yes. That's been relayed to me. I don't remember seeing it personally, though.
You didn't see this in your investigation.
I love this.
Your thorough
Great thing is he
investigation here, cop.
doesn't even have to answer.
Downstairs.
Don't you have this timestamp?
So you saw him pushing over the porta potty. Would you agree that his behavior?
Where? I didn't see that.
Yeah, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, it was too quick.
Acting like a riot.
Yeah, I missed the porta potty.
Objection for
It's
what?
just a characterization the jury can decide for themselves.
Cue hit.
You just throw out and let the judge figure it out. He's figured out the
No,
other
you don't have to
objections. Just object.
You sustain the objection.
What was
Sustain the
the
objection.
clowns?
Okay, I'm sorry. You also heard Carrie Ann Swart talk about him carrying an empty water bottle around with him, or multiple water bottles with him, right?
I remember hearing one. I don't remember hearing multiple.
Okay. And that you remember her telling us, meaning us in court, that she took it with him when he left, right?
He took it with him when he left.
Yep.
Yes.
And are you aware that there's been indications that homemade gas bombs were made from water bottles that evening?
I have heard that, correct.
Now, can you bring up the FBI? So this is, what's the number on this? It's the same one.
Big guy sitting there like this.
Do you have an objection if I just show this? So, and this is the
God, they just look demolished.
They look defeated.
Just a little bit.
Just beaten down.
You can just see Leon body language after this.
Wait, stop it. Now, we all, I think, have agreed this blue circle is Joseph Rosenbaum. Is that right?
Correct.
So, to be fair, there's been talk about whether or not Mr. Rittenhouse was chasing down Mr. Rosenbaum. What you see here is Mr. Rosenbaum, and I'm not saying that he actually physically ducks, but he ducks in between two vehicles to let Mr. Rittenhouse pass him. Is that right?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. It's also speculation, and I think the jury can watch the video and draw their own conclusions.
It really is speculative because you're asking the motive of the decedent as to why he took that on.
Okay. Play the video if you can. And when Mr. Rittenhouse passes him, he then comes out from the area by the two cars and is now back traveling this way, right?
Once the white dot is south of those cars, the blue dot appears to come northeast slightly, then continue southbound.
And Kelly Zeminski and her husband are right there, correct?
When you say right there, they're the green and pink dot, I would say.
Yeah. So they're right next to, or the two closest people to Mr. Rittenhouse and Mr. Rosenbaum, right?
At that time, it appears so, yes.
Did you hear, I don't know if it's been played yet, did you hear a portion of a tape? So we know Kyle Rittenhouse says, or you believe that you hear friendly, friendly, friendly. That's been discussed, right?
I haven't said that, but it's been said, yes.
What also was testified to by Detective Howard was gun, 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 you ain't gonna do shit, motherfucker, right?
You won't do, I think, is what is said, but something along those lines.
Same.
We know that's from Roosevelt.
Your Honor. There's no evidence on that.
What?
His own witness testified to it.
I have to ask the detective what this detective thinks, but ultimately it's a jury question.
You're saying that Detective Howard said that?
Yes.
That was his opinion as to who was the speaker.
Did you listen to that tape?
I hear those phrases. I don't know if I could confidently say who says what, though.
At this point, then, have you listened to the tape and have you heard the phrase, get him, get him, get him?
I have not heard that, no.
You haven't heard that?
No.
And that would be right before Joshua Zeminski shoots the firearm in the air.
Your Honor, he just answered he hasn't heard it, so how can he say when it happened? The detective just said he hasn't heard these words. The next question is, those words happen at a certain time. The detective's already said he hasn't heard it, so.
There.
Interesting.
So it's your testimony that you do not hear someone say, "Get him, get him, get him."
Play it.
Want to make sure that is that true?
I have not heard that. Correct.
Okay.
Binger is pissed.
I want you to listen.
Oh, he is.
To the tape and tell me.
Testing Binger face.
Gotta whack the Binger nest.
There it is.
I want you to listen to that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You hear that?
I hear something along those lines, but I couldn't confidently say that's get him. But it's definitely the same
Aw.
phrase repeated 3 times.
Whatever. The jury heard it.
Do you see Mr. Rosenbaum then chase Mr. Rittenhouse through the parking lot, right? You don't dispute that?
No.
Okay. Do you hear and have you heard the videos where the one gentleman says, "Cranium that boy"?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
Oh.
Too much someone talking about hitting someone in the head is my
Play the
best
game
bet.
Cranium.
Yeah. Sometimes.
And
I believe it's a board game.
Let's play that one at church.
It's like Trivial Pursuit, only it's got other clay and stuff.
Mr. Rittenhouse speaking to Mr. Grosskreutz, right after the shooting.
Correct.
Okay. Would you describe Mr. Grosskreutz based on your observations of him running after Mr. Rittenhouse?
Characterizing a video we've all seen, the jury can draw their own conclusions.
Oh, you've been doing this
That's
the whole
not a
trial, though.
legitimate
Yeah.
objection.
Who hasn't been characterizing the video?
Overruled.
Eye contact.
Watching the
And he
video,
was like,
it appeared to you that
overruled.
Mr. Grosskreutz was chasing after the defendant, chasing after Mr. Rittenhouse.
He was definitely running in the same direction.
Oh God.
Behind him.
Behind him.
Behind his path.
Would you characterize that as chasing?
If it looks weaselly to you, it looks weaselly to the
He's
jury.
smirking,
Look at
too.
his
Look at
smirk.
Look at that smirk.
Yeah.
This motherfucker knows.
What I want to ask you about too is there are multiple times we've talked about the times that Mr. Rittenhouse has actually pulled the trigger, right?
Yeah.
You'd agree there are multiple times based on the surrounding circumstances that he doesn't pull the trigger, right?
I can think of one time for sure I've seen where when you say he didn't pull the trigger, I don't. The gun may be pointed at someone.
You saw the video where the person, I showed it to Mr. Grosskreutz, the person runs up to Mr. Rittenhouse and then steps back, right?
Yes, I've seen that. Correct.
And no shot fired.
Correct.
You saw other people that were kind of, it wasn't a 2 or 3 person chase. There were multiple people kind of around Mr. Rittenhouse, some of them brandishing weapons, correct?
There were people and there were people that were armed. Absolutely.
And those people who didn't attack him, he didn't fire at them, did he?
Correct.
The only people that he fired at were people that had either kicked him, hit him with something, or pulled a gun on him when he's running down Sheridan Road, right?
I would agree with that statement.
And after initially when he sees Gage Grosskreutz, you'd agree when Mr. Grosskreutz's hands are up, he doesn't fire.
Correct.
There's a person to Mr. Grosskreutz's, it would be his left.
Point for
metal
reasonableness.
pipe. Do you remember that?
I know earlier we saw you called it a wooden club. I don't know. I remember seeing a wooden or fairly off the distance. There's a metal pipe. Yes.
And So people who are armed, he doesn't fire at any of those people, does he?
Correct.
After the shooting, I counted, and I'm not asking you for the specific number, but there's multiple shots fired after Mr. Rittenhouse fires his last shot, right?
Correct.
I counted about 10, but there's multiple, right?
Agreed.
He never turns and fires in that direction, does he?
No.
Also a good point.
Yeah. He's just not discharging recklessly, but he's
Exactly. Showing multiple opportunities where he could have discharged his firearm and he chose not to.
great restraint.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what
Again-
impressed me the most, actually, when I saw the first video, was that he didn't mow them down.
The trigger discipline was great.
What's impressing me right now is that Sheriff Feasey is not being arrested for homicide.
Of the prosecution.
So I think it was the video that Mr. Binger showed you, the drone footage. He showed you that on direct examination. Okay. Do you know where that came from? How you got it, or whether you got it? Do you know where it came from?
Someone turned it over to us.
And do you know when that was?
Someone.
I want to say Friday late morning.
It's one of Bill Gates's space modules.
But we stipulated to authentication, even though we don't know where it came from. Okay.
If you know, Hannah Giddings, was she in court while this hearing's been going on, this trial?
I believe I saw her today, but beyond that, I can't say with certainty. Beyond that.
And you
So
didn't execute.
You believe she was here today?
I believe so,
search
yes.
warrant.
Okay.
For
Was
the
there?
skateboard.
Don't take it as a criticism. Was there any effort to get the skateboard? Talk to her about that today?
No.
Interesting.
Even still, they're not trying to get the skateboard. Material evidence in a murder trial that is ongoing, and they know or have probable cause to believe that a person possesses it.
Just ask, did the prosecutor tell you specifically not to look for the skateboard? That'd be good.
Yeah. Marcy's Law. Marcy's Law.
Yeah. At this point.
Binger's itching right now.
Yep. More rusty
Fingers-
finger face.
Don't be sad. Don't be sad. There'll be someone else to prosecute.
Detective, this drone footage that we just
Set
showed the
up
jury,
and,
the version that we showed the jury, did you and Detective Howard have any versions of that prior to Friday?
Not independently. We had it was something attached to a news segment, so the video existed, but it wasn't in its raw form.
What?
That was a news segment on Tucker Carlson on Fox News. Do you know?
That sounds correct.
And that aired a couple days after the shootings, right?
I believe so.
And so ever since then, you've been trying to get the highest definition version of that video. Is that right?
Correct.
And now we have it?
It appears so.
And after we got it on Friday, did you take a look at it?
A little bit, yeah.
And did you get a chance to look at it at home?
A little bit.
In your
Did
underwear?
Were you able to
Why is that relevant?
zoom in and look at details of the defendant's actions in that video?
Yes.
What did you see?
So it appears that when the defendant comes around what we've been referring to as the Duramax vehicle, he deliberately, when I say deliberately with caution and intentionally, sets down the fire extinguisher and then appears to bring his rifle up and point it in the direction of the Zeminskis.
Then what happens?
Wow.
It's hard to tell based off where it was and based off what I was viewing it on, which was my work phone, so it wasn't the highest def. But it looks like Joshua Zeminski takes a couple steps towards him, and then at that point, the defendant starts to run, and then Rosenbaum follows.
Does the video also show the shooting, the killing of Mr. Rosenbaum?
It does.
And when you look at that video, how close does Mr. Rosenbaum appear to be to the defendant?
This is just going off of me looking at it again on a phone, but Not close
On
enough.
a phone?
Not close enough to touch the defendant.
It does not appear so, no.
Oh my.
Break the video back out.
Now, I want to go back to the beginning of your testimony. You were
think they
asked
will on
about
cross.
the
Maybe.
process by which a criminal complaint was drafted in this case, and I think you said that.
So you have to wait
that
for
was
them
done
to actually
before the
touch you
investigation
before
was
you can
complete.
shoot them.
Is that fair to say?
How that works.
Correct.
Why would a criminal complaint be prepared before the investigation is complete?
It's not atypical for that to happen, especially in a major case, a homicide. There's a lot of legwork that has to be done, even when you know who did it. So in this case, we obviously knew who did
When
it.
you know who did it.
But we have to get all the facts. So we'll typically, in this situation, because there was an extradition issue, the defendant was in Illinois and we needed him up here to be heard for court. We had to get a warrant entered in to have that done, which is why you typically would do an early probable cause statement versus waiting until the investigation completed.
Are there also time limits in terms of how long someone can be held in custody pending possible criminal charges?
Yeah, I believe it's 48 hours.
It's
Is it fair to
it's
say
much
that
more
after the complaint
complicated
was
than that.
drafted and filed with the court that you continued to investigate the case?
Absolutely.
And Detective Howard did as well?
Correct.
Did any of the subsequent investigation you did, any of the new information you gathered, change your original referral to the district attorney's office for criminal charges against the defendant?
I haven't read the criminal complaint in a long time, so I can't say with certainty, but I don't recall any changing the grand scope.
You were asked
That should have
questions
just
about
been a no
Gage
immediately. What are you
Grosskreuz's
doing?
phone. Without having possession of his phone, did you have access to his Facebook Live video?
We had a copy, but I don't believe it was the original copy.
Again, it was one of these things where it wasn't the highest possible resolution of it.
Yeah, I think someone used like a screen capture software program and saved a copy.
Based on what you saw in that Facebook Live video, do you feel like, without having his phone, you knew what Gage Grosskreutz had done that night before the defendant shot him?
In the immediate time beforehand, not the rest of the night, though.
So we didn't need any other evidence.
You were asked some questions about Anthony Huber's skateboard. When you watch the videos of the defendant killing Anthony Huber, were you able to see that skateboard clearly?
Yeah.
Are you generally familiar with skateboards yourself?
No.
Have you ever ridden a skateboard?
No.
Do you know?
I don't know what a skateboard is.
I'm a very good
You know anyone who's ridden a skateboard?
What is the relevance?
Well, I think the point is we need this exact skateboard, and I'm exploring his familiarity with
Why?
skateboards.
Why do we
in
need this
general.
exact skateboard?
Why does he need specific
Once you've seen
familiarity?
one, you've pretty much seen them all.
But you don't have any as evidence.
enough. You also were asked about, and there's been references in the testimony to some video in which Joseph Rosenbaum says,
You disqualify
"Shoot
the
me,"
expert.
followed by the N-word, shoot me,
And
by-
then
followed by
ask
the
for his
N-word.
opinion?
I don't know that we've actually played those.
Someone in the chat said, "Bring in
You have
Tony
any
Hawk
idea
to
what was leading
testify."
up to that?
It appears there was some back and forth in the parking or the service station at the southeast corner of 60th and Sheridan.
Was he upset because someone had shot a gun at him? Or I mean, pointed a
Objection
gun
calls
at
for
him?
speculation.
Yeah, that's yeah.
To that, yes.
No, he wasn't.
Thank
He was
you.
upset because they just put out a dumpster fire. That's why he was screaming it.
You were asked questions about this empty plastic water bottle.
Ooh.
That Mr. Rosenbaum had in his bag that night. Is that right?
This is the water bottle.
Do you have any indication
Is it the
that Mr.
water? That's what I
Rosenbaum
wanna know.
ever created
From
any
this
sort
water
of
bottle.
That's from Big Boy's
bomb
lunch.
or ammonia and bleach bomb or anything like that night?
Welcome
No.
back again.
Do you have any indication that at any point before he was killed by the defendant, there was anything in that bottle?
No.
When you see people carrying around empty plastic water bottles, does that suggest to you that they're about to commit a crime?
No.
During a riot, it might.
That's such a weak question.
It's like, okay.
You almost
like
subject
context.
to relevance, but it's such a dumb question. that you
pathetic.
just
Even
let it
the,
go.
even the witnesses
You were
go,
finally you were
"Oh,
asking questions about the defendant's usage of his gun and the other people around after killing Joseph Rosenbaum, after killing Anthony Huber, after shooting Gage Grosskreutz. He gets up and he walks away from the scene, correct?
Correct.
You mentioned that there were some gunshots after that. What did the defendant do in response to those gunshots, if you know?
Objection calls for speculation.
I have nothing further.
He didn't recall.
Well, that ended on
You
a
wanted him to
side
say
note.
Kyle turned around and pointed his gun backwards because he did, but he couldn't even manage that.
Chinese
Embarrassing.
73. So this is the drone video that you say that you believe that you can see Mr. Hold on a second. This video, you think, make sure I'm right, you can see Mr. Rittenhouse pointing his firearm. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you see Mr. Rittenhouse at this point? No. Okay. Wait for a second. All right, stop. Do you see him yet? We're 1 second in.
So, just so you're aware,
That's
you
not the
can't do it with this
question.
program as far as I know, but like on my iPhone, my work iPhone.
I can't see anything in that video.
So what the jury gets to see, we'll never see that, right?
If there's a way to zoom it in.
Okay, well, this is what we have, and you'd agree that from this
Zoom in, enhance.
His iPhone zoom is better than this.
testified to.
GTFO, bro.
Agree?
Off this view, absolutely.
Did you send the video to be enhanced in any way to like the crime lab or anything like that?
I haven't personally.
Don't CSI this.
I believe the prosecution is.
Don't you have
He's doing that
programs
now?
that just zoom it up and make it better?
Sorry.
Stop nodding your head, Binger.
He said that.
Yeah.
The prosecution is now trying to enhance the video. Is that what he said?
So this is
Yes,
the video.
they just got it Friday.
No, hold on. That's Joseph Rosenbaum, right?
In the middle.
This gentleman right
Red
here.
shirt, black pocket.
The guy making the angry death face.
Well,
Oh,
It's not in the frame right now, but he was behind him a second ago.
Just go back just so I can confirm.
Sure.
I'm guessing it's Joshua Zeminski, but yeah, Joshua Zeminski.
Okay. Go ahead.
just replaying that. Replaying that.
Hard R.
Now, do you know? You have no idea why he's saying it, correct?
I don't know if they say that.
You testified earlier that
But
you
we've
knew why he
established
said
he's
that.
saying it in the guise or in the surroundings of a Black Lives Matter protest. Yes.
Agreed.
You had said that on this video that we don't get to see. You're able to see things in terms of how far away you believe Joseph Rosenbaum is, right? From
You're talking about the drone video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know, in your training and experience as a detective, do you know what extreme stippling is?
I know stippling is related to when a gunshot occurs, but I couldn't say what extreme stippling is now.
What's stippling?
You're putting me on the spot here. It's
Are you a detective or not?
That is the point.
skin. But I
That you're close enough. So if somebody shoots, or if somebody is close enough to a gun when it's fired, the gases that come out of that gun burn the skin of that person. Correct?
I'm gonna object. This is beyond the scope of redirect, John.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know, which is insane.
I don't know enough about it to say that that's the
He
textbook
overruled it.
definition, but it's definitely indicative of proximity to a
He's
fired
a
gun.
detective. Of course he knows about
Based on
stippling.
your investigation in this case, Joseph Rosenbaum had stippling on his body, correct?
Correct.
Now we get that jury question. Do you know anything about stippling? That makes a lot more sense earlier when they asked him about that. This is a detective. He's a murder detective. He's going to know about or a detective who investigates homicides.
Proximity
He will know
firearms.
about stippling. Yeah.
God, Columbo knows about that.
Yeah, he's trying to be slick a little bit.
Through your investigation, do you know if Mr. Rosenbaum had stippling on his hand?
I'd have to see the medical examiner's report to say yes or no.
You don't have a recollection of
I
that?
don't.
Do you have a recollection of where you observed it?
I remember seeing it in the preliminary autopsy results, but I don't remember exactly where now.
That was a bad question. When I say where, I mean where on his body.
I don't remember, no.
But you did observe stippling on his body, which means he's pretty fucking close.
Yeah.
We
See, the
know
thing
he's
is,
close.
if it's
No one
not on his
doubts this.
hands, it means the body was even closer.
Here we
But
go.
compare with Grosskreutz, cops who have more experience, when they're getting pinned down, they'll freely back up into, I just don't know what I'm doing. I don't know my job.
Yeah.
Because that way you can't pin them down on anything.
Right.
Yeah. Again, a detective who is going to make an initial determination between a suicide versus a homicide based on the proximity of a gunshot discharge or a gun discharge into a person is clearly familiar with stippling. It'd be part of their training. It'd be part of what they learned while they were learning how to be a detective, working with other people. This guy's been a detective for 3.5 years, which isn't the longest, but you have to presume that he knows something about this.
Yeah, how to bullshit on the stand is what he learned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trying to locate the full video that was just shown to the jury there. Could I just have a minute to see if I can find that?
And again, it's a little bit like, why does it matter? Because everyone understands
He says she's
the shooting was at a close
I think they're
distance.
making a pattern.
Well,
She's
uncivil if you
go home,
missed
put
it.
pajamas on right away.
He suggested on the
Hey, just
drone
think it's only
footage that
about 45
that
days and
Rosenbaum
the case is
appeared 10 feet away when he shot him,
Yeah.
which is a clear fucking lie.
This guy did?
Yes, this
Yeah.
guy testified that when he looked at the drone footage, Rosenbaum appeared to be 10 feet away when Kyle Rittenhouse shot him.
Oh.
That he saw-
Oh,
that he
so
saw
he's
on
just
his
a liar.
iPhone.
Oh, okay, I'm cleared up.
Yeah, this is why
All
the
right.
stippling is into play right now.
All right.
They
I
want to
didn't
point
realize
out
that
he's
was a thing.
actually, yeah, he's actually close. He's not actually 10 feet away.
Yeah, he
Right.
implied that Rosenbaum was further away than you are from your mic. So
Oh.
Word.
Damn, Joe.
Harsh but fair.
Uncivil went, look, it's fine. Uncivil went traveling, but he left his mic at home. It's fine. He's just yelling really loud. Yeah, I mean, he looked maybe his head was a few feet from Kyle Rittenhouse at the time that he shot. Maybe a Gage Grosskreutz 3 feet away or whatever, but he was certainly not 10 feet.
even if he wasn't actually touching him, I mean, the comment about him lunging
That's
slash
ridiculous.
falling, I don't think that that's gonna.
There's
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I'm
gotta
not-
wait for him
there's
to
enough
actually
other
grab
evidence.
your gun to shoot him. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not waiting till someone's within 10 feet if they're screaming "fuck you" and running at me full speed to shoot. By the way, just so we're clear,
well, especially after you heard a gunshot and turned around.
Well, and the other thing is, any of these detectives would have taken that shot.
yes,
That's-
of
within
course
21
they would.
feet.
Why has the defense? I would ask that question to the of each of these cops. If I were the defense, would you have shot him?
No, you don't ask, would you have shot him? You'd say if someone was
Almost
screaming,
100
running
years
at
old.
you at full
Yeah,
speed,
right,
you would have
right.
shot him, right?
Yeah, right.
Last year, they undertook a project to see how much of damage.
Oh,
could
Nate's
be
in the
reversed
chat.
And
Come back, Nate.
what the cost would
Come
be.
back to us, Nate.
Come hang out.
Step into the light, Nate.
I was amazed.
No, not into the light.
He's talking about the damaged courtroom right now. It's not important, but Binger's about to talk.
We're getting set
No,
up.
I could go on for hours. Is anyone who works here?
Oh, we know you could, Judge.
We know, Schrader.
I'm getting the rest of that video.
Okay.
There was an excerpt just played for the under the rule of completeness. I'd like to have the whole thing played.
Battery exhausted.
I'm getting it ready to go.
Battery.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yep,
Don't
it
feel-
should be in a couple seconds.
No, be quiet.
So, okay, this is the Twitter Julio Rosas, the Fight at Ultimate Gas Part 1. Can we play that, please?
Oh my God, they're gonna play all these rules. The rule of completeness.
There's the skateboard.
Ironic choice of words at a BLM.
That guy's using a hard R, huh? That's very hard.
Joe. 20 seconds,
It
please.
doubles down.
My
A
battery's
fiery,
out.
peaceful N-word.
Shit.
Play from there, please.
Nate took you out.
Kyle's
Does Nick
not
not
there
have
at this
electricity?
moment. That's not Kyle in the green shirt. He's not there for this part.
No.
Everyone sees that green shirt and assumes it's Kyle, but it's not. It's a different guy.
You stopped it before the colorful language.
Me.
I honestly didn't know.
Okay, let's play that back again, please. 10 more seconds, please.
I really wanted you to hear that, though.
Go ahead.
Are you sure you didn't hear it?
Did you hear it there?
Objection, Your Honor.
Part of it,
Relevance. Who's
but
he
I-
talking to?
Okay.
What
Yeah.
did he?
Let's play this to the end, and then we'll play the next clip. Which just
What
to
was
give
he
the whole-
supposed to have heard?
Don't point your gun at me.
But he's not.
I heard
talking to
that.
Kyle. Kyle's not even there.
This is getting desperately ridiculous right now.
Yeah,
They're grasping at straws because they got nothing left.
right.
They're trying to run the day out.
Oh, look at the
I think
the
so.
other
Yeah,
council.
they're running the clock.
Yeah, he's
Whoa.
please don't show my face.
What
That
are we doing
R.I.P.
here?
state.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, Forrest.
He's like, I'm losing like 20 pounds just sitting next to you, man. This is ridiculous.
He makes me
I
feel
hope
better
we can
about my
go to
weight.
Wendy's when we're done.
This is.
Your Honor, I'd like to apply to have this redacted from my resume.
Theo,
What do you mean there's no second breakfast?
This looks bad because it is bad.
Big Boy makes me feel better about my weight, though, so I got that going for me.
Ironically, this could be captioned "Just shoot me."
Again, what's the argument here?
Part 2 of that.
Nick, do you
Oh,
not
here we
have
go, here we go.
electricity up there in Minnesota?
You shut your mouth.
Burn the police station.
Mostly peaceful burning.
Guy just threw a barrel at someone.
Yeah, mostly peaceful.
Oh, this is This is peaceful.
Come on, the dumpster.
Those are going to be marked as Exhibit 70.
What the hell did we just watch this for?
Well, I guess since he introduced it as the rule for completeness, he wanted to show the complete video.
Nothing further. Thank you.
It's absolutely pointless to show the second one.
I think he's conclusively proved that there's burning going on.
Time to go out into the dark of night.
Yeah. And
Please
this- and
don't
this
talk about the
charade.
case overnight. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial.
Except for Ricada Law.
Your exclusive place.
You can tell from that last video that this prosecution was inspired by the term dumpster fire.
They really were.
100%.
They wanted to make their case in chief a dumpster fire.
They wanted to match.
This case should be over. This case
It
should
really
be over like
should be.
tomorrow. Yeah, this is like it's like what are we really doing here? You literally they've proved self-defense.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not just a reasonable doubt as to self-defense. They have proved self-defense.
They proved that Kyle's guilty of being a badass, basically.
Well,
Yeah.
well, let's not forget.
And
In Wisconsin, the district attorney has to prove that Kyle didn't act in self-defense, and I don't think there's a sane person alive that can say that. Right?
I'm having
Right.
trouble
Right.
getting to preponderance, let alone beyond reasonable doubt.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good reminder for everyone is that this is actually the state's burden for them. Like they have to prove that Kyle did not have a legal justification for his actions. In other words, self-defense. So in most states, I would say the burden is flipped. It's an affirmative defense that is put on by the defendant that says, I had a reason to do it. It's, I was acting in self-defense or defense of others or et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, in this particular case, he doesn't even have the burden. But even if he did, I think that there's enough evidence here that he would be able to.
Yeah.
Well, if this
I don't know. I don't know how the
preponderance of
prosecution gets to the 51% margin. Like,
Yeah, well,
beyond
even-
reasonable doubt is sometimes thought of like 95, 99%, somewhere in that neighborhood. It's like, how am I getting to 51?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, wait,
That's
one
what I'm
second,
seeing
one
how a
second.
directed
Can you
verdict
help me
doesn't
out?
go down.
Lieutenant?
Ooh, what's going on?
What?
This is interesting.
Okay.
Some drama.
Mr. Gambini. Sorry.
Please
Are you
wear a
aware-
proper suit tomorrow.
Are you
Dress
aware that I
loyally.
informed you to dress loyally in my courtroom?
Made out of some kind of cloth.
They're going to ask this guy why he subpoenaed someone, then let them leave the courtroom immediately in fear.
Yep.
This really, no, I'm with you, Nate. This case needs to be dismissed. It needs to be dismissed yesterday. It needs to be dismissed today. It needs to be dismissed tomorrow. This is the prosecution's case in chief. There will be no gotchas at this point in the trial. Their main witnesses have been called. We know who killed. Like there's no one else who can testify on the prosecution side as to Kyle's state of mind, and the prosecution has done a great job testifying that Kyle was in a state of mind of reasonable fear and imminent danger.
I don't see how they get to a conviction unless Rittenhouse gets up on the stand and says, "Yeah, I shot them for giggles."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even then, you might have reasonable doubt. It's like, well, Rittenhouse
Well-
said some things, but I don't know if I believe him at this point.
Keep lobbying for
that's
they
why
need
the
to kill him
reason why
defense.
I think the reason why I think this is going to be a directed verdict because they have to show that he didn't act in self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. And
There's no
right
way
now,
you
I
get
don't think
there.
they even have a preponderance of the evidence, right? So if we're not even there, then I don't see how you're even close to going forward with the most serious charge. Let's just say.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to go for a provocation or an initial aggressor sort of type thing to negate self-defense, but there was nothing I saw that even scratches at that.
No,
for
everything
any
they
negate
offered went the other way. Howie was
Exactly.
peaceful in advance.
They're counting on a biased jury to give them a win.
They ain't gonna get it.
That's a lot of
I
bias,
think so.
man.
That's a lot
Oh,
of
you'd have
bias,
to
yeah.
be real biased for that.
Well, if they had a whack job left wing judge, maybe.
Maybe.
But with a good
If they had a
judge,
prosecutor that didn't ask really stupid questions, maybe.
Or just not interview his witnesses. All of these issues for the prosecution, and Nate, maybe you could speak to this, but there's some level of duty that a prosecutor has where if they find enough exculpatory evidence that they should be dismissing a case. Is that
Yes,
somewhat accurate?
Yes. Well, it's in the ethical code, but prosecutors aren't supposed to seek convictions. They're supposed to seek justice. And like, for instance, I've had cases assigned to me where I've had to dismiss them in the interest of justice, right? Because as you learn more facts, then eventually you find out that what you thought happened initially isn't what it really is. And sometimes the bosses may see it differently. But if you have, because let's not also forget the prosecutors are political positions too, so they have a boss. They got to run for office. That's why I think we have this trial. But even then, it's just like something like this. It would just be hard for me to, with these facts, knowing what everyone is saying and the evidence I have, to have even brought these charges initially. That's again. That's why I think even Emily said, Emily, who's a prosecutor for 15 years, said, I don't know how to even bring these charges in good faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and certainly after the testimony that they've gotten from their own witnesses, the state at any point can say, Your Honor, actually, I believe we've resolved by a factual matter this case, and we no longer need to proceed. We're motioning to dismiss at least this charge, this charge, this charge, and this charge. And what do you think about this, Nate? As a prosecutor, again, if they dismiss not due to a directed verdict of self-defense, but if they voluntarily dismiss the murder charges, doesn't that give them a better case on the reckless endangerment charge?
Possibly, but it all depends on what the dismissal's for. If you're talking about acting in self-defense, the reckless endangerment may just become a matter of law versus a matter of fact. Then we'll also, I don't know. I think the reckless endangerment charge has to go too, because if you have self-defense, then that bullet that he shot in self-defense, I think it's a legal impossibility that bullet can still be reckless, right?
Yep.
I understand transfer intent. I understand all that, but if I'm shooting a bullet and that bullet leaves my gun and it's in perfect self-defense, then if it kills that person and travels to someone else and kills them, I don't see how that intent now becomes, there's no intent to transfer because I have perfect self-defense.
Right.
Have they got OBS up on the, or is...
Oh, that's me.
Oh, that's you. Okay. I was wondering if Court TV has OBS up there.
I forgot it was pulled up. Let me do this over here. I'm trying to switch to a substitute camera.
I'm just also thinking the jury, once they see all of the stink on the main charges, they're not going to want to convict on the little stuff, even if it's made out.
If you give the prosecution the benefit of the doubt, that reckless endangerment, and you want to look at everything from their
What is
side,
the judge wearing them out about? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah. What I'm saying is, as far as the whole directed verdict thing, so one could say, and I disagree with this. I think there should be a directed verdict. Not that I'm expecting it will be, but I think you could make a claim that when Rosenbaum charges at him, that there's reckless endangerment and firing off 4 times. He could have fired off once, twice. The third and fourth shot, in theory, was an unnecessary reckless endangerment of the public at large.
They happen.
His own safety.
Joe, they happen so quickly. That's going to be.
No, I understand. I'm not saying that. That's the only thing I have.
You're
left
just putting the argument out there.
I'm putting the argument out there, saying that's the only thing I can say that maybe somehow. A jury could say that was reckless endangerment, but the murder charges make no sense.
Can a reasonable jury find that Kyle did not act in self-defense based off this evidence? And
no,
I don't believe they can. I don't believe
not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Not beyond a reasonable doubt.
Close.
Yeah.
It seems what do y'all think the judge is all animated about?
He's probably saying, do we really need another day of this?
Yeah, how much longer
are you doing here?
Let's get that skateboard, huh?
In chief at this point, because I really want to get back to watching.
Look at Sheriff Feasy. He's going for the flex right now.
That reckless endangerment charge is also really just confusing, based on the jury instructions. If you came to me with that as a juror, I'm honestly not sure what I'd do because of the way the instructions are written.
That's why I was asking, because the jury instructions seem to leave room for, even in the case you don't get a perfected self-defense claim on reckless endangerment, but the jury can consider a perfected self-defense claim. It was a really weird instruction. That's why I was asking about it, because if they dismiss it and there's no actual self-defense that's perfected by the court, they just dismiss it and say, oh, we're going to drop the charges. Do they then get to proceed and he doesn't have the benefit of the judge ruling a perfected self-defense?
I get that now. Well, yeah. All right, I understand. Yeah. Because it goes away if perfect self-defense, it goes away anyway. By dismissing it, then you still get a bite at the but the problem is that you've already proved up the self-defense that kills the second charge. So you're sending it to the jury, but then the judge is going to have to say, well, if he was acting in self-defense when that bullet was released, does that change in mid-flight to not being justified if it hits someone else?
I mean, the argument they seem to have been going with is basically this notion that because Rittenhouse was there for some bad reason, that he essentially had some duty to just die. when people
You'd
were
be surprised how many
attacking.
people have said that.
As opposed to literally everyone else who was there, who had just noble reasons.
I had a friend's wife say that almost that exact same that thing to me a couple nights ago. It was like, well, didn't he cross state lines with a gun? I said, so what?
First of all, no.
First of all, no. But yeah, even if he did, that doesn't doom him to die.
Yeah,
I mean, even if he was there selling crack
apparently
with an
the
AR-15
other people
on
that
his
showed
shoulder.
up to tear shit up, you know, they were allowed to kill him.
Yeah.
It left me speechless, and that's
The people with the pre-made gas canisters from their home, they were allowed to be there.
Yeah.
They didn't order their Molotovs from Amazon.
Yeah. Maybe they got it from the attorneys who were just convicted in D.C.
Well, that's a hell of a way to
Molotov cocktails, the New York
Is
one.
Nate the only one who thinks directed verdict, or any of you go along with him?
I'm thinking it's possible. I think so.
Oh,
I bet against Nate, but only because no one else was.
No, I'd have to predict against. I mean, I think realistically, your best odds are like 5 or 10%, but still, that's really high in this context.
Yeah, but I can't think of a single witness that I've seen that has actually provided evidence that supports the prosecution's position.
I think it's too political.
No.
They're going to let it go to a jury.
I think that would be the only reason why I would think so.
Like, I'm out of here.
And also for the appearance of justice. So,
if
and
this
the
wasn't on a
Mavverse
stream,
completely eliminated my respect for him. Wow.
yeah. Do we want to give odds on the directed verdict since I already stated my position at 5 to 10?
No, I think you're right. I think I said 10 to 15%. But that's coming up from that's an infinite percentage higher than you would normally have.
If there wasn't a political,
it was an infinite percentage higher than I was on day 2, where I was like absolute 0 on day 2.
Right.
I'm willing to up the percent if it goes to a verdict and then there's a guilty verdict and then including a JNOV as a directed verdict. So
there's a possibility of that.
That's
what
I think would happen. If they
Yeah.
turn in a guilty verdict, I think you'll get a
JNOV.
A JNOV.
Yeah,
which
I-
is
yeah,
notwithstanding
there's a
the
substantial
verdict, they'll
likelihood of that.
overturn it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more. That makes sense. And you blame the jury, right? The racist. The jury's either going to be a racist jury,
Intimidated.
It's going to turn into
Think
But you know
to
what,
yourself
though?
this. What
I'm
judge
gonna
wants to
say
take a
this,
headache
though.
he doesn't have to? If a jury
Where's
can-
Maxine Waters?
That's true. No, all these other lefties now are saying that he has a good self-defense claim. So it may not be spun in the way we're thinking it might be spun. Like the political tide has turned on this Rittenhouse thing. Just look at any of the coverage now. TYT had to come out and say that he had a good, so it's the tide has turned a little bit about the trial.
the only
Yeah,
people
and
I say
it
or I
needs to
see-
have turned.
oh.
Sorry,
The
go
only
ahead, Ian.
people I see saying, "Hey, he needs to be convicted," are people who haven't watched any of this.
Right.
The people who are just getting filtered news and
Those who are just relying on the mainstream media or legacy media, whatever you want to call it, and not taking any time to investigate themselves, which I mean, sure, a lot of people are busy. Not everybody's interested in this, but I mean, hey, 26,000 people were interested. Just want to point that out. That was
Congrats to
crazy.
you, Nick, for having such a popular stream, man. It's awesome.
I know.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks
And-
for having us all on. Like it's been a wonderful
I-
experience.
And to the people in the chat who are watching, I just want to let you know, if you're not aware, in the description, everyone with a YouTube channel who has been on this show today has their link in the description. You should check all of us out. We're all legal commentators. We all cover a bunch of a broad range of topics. If you're interested in trial, oral argument, if you're interested in law in general, you got to check everybody's channel out. See what you like, because we all comment on different things, because there's so much law to cover. No one can do it on their own. So everybody who's on here is linked in that description, and make sure and go and show them some love if this is a topic you're interested in. So what I need to do, it's 5:00. I think what I need to do is read through the $20 plus super chats. And the rest of the super chats I am going to get to tonight. If I stay here for all of it, it'll be I won't go to bed or whatever. But I'm gonna do a catch up recap stream tonight, hit all the super chats, answer all the questions. I may or may not have a guest. I have to talk to some people, see if they'd be interested in coming on. But that's what I'm going to do. All of my guests are welcome to stay for it, but they may also want to leave because we've been here for 8 hours now total.
Before you go, look at this. This clip is Lefty David Pacman, and this is the moment where the where gross double G
Grosskreutz.
Where he gives it up about the whole gun, like, yes, he pointed the gun and correct.
Oh, here, yeah,
David Pacman.
Your gun, now your hands down, pointed at him. Then he fired, right?
Correct.
This is not so good.
This is not so good.
Oh, really? Why not? Why say that, David?
This is not so good.
Not good at all, quite frankly. For the prosecution, that is.
Yeah.
Legal analysis from David
You had
It's for Curb Your Enthusiasm music right here. It's a meme that just plays itself.
That tell before he talks. Oh, that was beautiful. Just who's that guy?
He's
David
got over
Pacman.
1 million subs. His name David Pacman.
He's actually
lefty.
one of the most intelligent leftists out there. He really is. He can handle himself in a debate. Far better than Chen can.
He wasn't thinking that, but if you listen to the rest of the stream, he says this is obvious not guilty, and his fans are like, oh, you've already made up your mind. He's like, no, I've been watching the trial. Not guilty.
Again, I don't know how you can have actually watched the trial and come up with a different conclusion. I've been trying
Completely agree.
I've been working real hard to eliminate my bias. I've thought Kyle was innocent from the moment I saw the first video, and I was like, oh, it looks like self-defense. But this trial, even if you know nothing about the case and come into this and go, okay, what's the prosecution telling me here? I don't see how you get to a guilty verdict. I don't see how you even get close.
Yeah, at the end of the day, too, I was basically ready to convict because I was like, based on what I heard in court.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, too, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to convict on this. There's just too much here. So maybe that's how all the people are not coming to the right conclusion. That's when they stopped watching. The last 4 days have been increasingly good. And then Bald Guy defense lawyer really knocked it out of the park today.
He's been, Richards did some okay cross. Shirafisi has done phenomenal cross, really, the past couple days. And as long as he's been in there, he's been doing very well. I had, full disclosure, I had initial issues with his motion hearing, with his oral argument on the dismissal of the minor in possession charge, because I felt like he didn't impress upon the judge enough the fact that what he actually hit today. This is an exception specifically for standard long barrel rifles and long barrel shotguns, Judge. That's how we know that the court intended to accept it, is because they wrote it into the law that if you're carrying a long barrel rifle or a long barrel shotgun, this is accepted. And he didn't ever get there in his oral argument. I thought that was a little bit of a blunder, but we've still got that motion for reconsideration on that ruling pending, as far as I know. That is the only bad move I've seen from him. All of his cross-examination has been competent, if not brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
No, someone in the chat actually put a super chat about him accepting a plea deal. And I would say right now, if he gets offered a plea deal that includes any jail time or any criminal record, I would say, out of here. Maybe
the only thing is the curfew. Take the curfew. That's it.
Yeah, take the curfew, I guess.
Yeah,
I wouldn't take that. You got to see a jury with that. We already got they already heard half the thing. Yeah, let's
actually make Binger after getting blanked on every other charge, take that to a separate jury trial on just the curfew, just to see him sitting there Charlie Browning. Oh, my goodness. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start reading through the $20 plus super chats, and I will get to the rest this evening. Do any of y'all need to go right now or want to?
Yeah, I'm going
to
take off. It was dark when I started. That is now the sun.
Yes.
So I'm going to go for a while. pop on my stream, and then go to bed. So
It's about 3 a.m. here, so I'm also gonna be leaving.
Oh, top of the monkey ladder.
Well, thank you guys for joining me today.
No, it was a pleasure.
Yes,
Later,
thank you
guys.
so much for having us. And this has been an incredible experience, and super grateful to be here. Nick, you are awesome. And